You've tried everything: therapy, self-help books piled high on your nightstand, meditation apps you religiously opened and then, just as religiously closed, positive affirmations that felt hollow even as you said them. Maybe you even took the drastic step of cutting ties with your parents, and yet the wound is still there. It still aches when you least expect it. It still rears its ugly head in your relationships, at your job, in the critical way you talk to yourself. And you start to wonder, will this ever heal? Am I doomed to carry this pain forever? If that resonates, if you feel seen by those words, this video is for you, because today I'm going to reveal something that Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, discovered about healing childhood wounds, something that most modern approaches completely ignore, something that explains why you've tried so many things and none of them have truly worked, and most importantly, what actually works. But before we dive in, I need to be honest with you. What I'm about to reveal isn't easy. It's not a 5-minute technique you can just tack onto your day. It's not an affirmation you can robotically repeat in the mirror, hoping for a quick fix. It's a path that few have the courage to tread. But for those who do, the transformation is profound and permanent. So let's start at the beginning. Why has nothing you've tried worked so far? The answer is both simpler and more painful than you might imagine. Most approaches to healing childhood wounds fail because they focus on the wrong place. They focus on the symptoms instead of the cause. They focus on the outside instead of the inside. They focus on finding someone or something that will heal you, when the truth is, no one can heal you except yourself. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you go to therapy, hoping that the therapist will magically fix you, you're outsourcing your healing. When you jump into a relationship, hoping your partner will fill the gaping void your parents left, you're outsourcing your healing. When you relentlessly chase professional success to prove you're worthy of love, you're outsourcing your healing. And every single time you outsource your healing, it doesn't really happen. You might experience some temporary relief. You might even get a fleeting sensation that you've finally found the answer. But eventually, inevitably, the wound comes back. Because the wound isn't out there. The wound is within you. And no one can go in there and fix it, except you. Carl Jung understood this over a century ago. He recognized that the human psyche possesses an extraordinary ability to heal itself. But that ability is only activated when a person stops frantically searching outside for what can only be found within. He called this process individuation. Individuation is the deeply personal journey of becoming who you truly are, of integrating all parts of yourself, including the wounded parts, the rejected parts, the parts you hide even from yourself. And it's through this integration that true healing unfolds. But wait, because this might all sound a little abstract. Let me make it concrete. Think about the wound your parents inflicted. Maybe they never told you they loved you. Maybe they were emotionally absent, like ghosts in the house. Maybe they relentlessly criticized everything you did, never offering a word of encouragement. Maybe they projected their own failed dreams onto you, crushing your own aspirations under the weight of their expectations. It doesn't matter what the specific wound was. What matters is what it created within you. That wound created a part of you that's still a child, a part that got stuck in that moment of pain, a part that still waits for someone to come and say, "You are enough. You are loved. You deserve to be here." Jung called this part the inner child, and the inner child never ages. It remains the same age it was when the wound occurred. It remains with the same unmet needs. It remains waiting. And here's the crux of the problem. As long as you don't find that inner child and give it what it needs, the wound will never heal. You can see 1,000 therapists. You can read 1,000 books. You can have 1,000 relationships. None of them can reach that child. Only you can. This is what reparenting truly means. Becoming the parent you never had. Giving yourself the love, the validation, the unwavering security that your parents failed to provide. Not as an intellectual concept, but as a daily practice. I know that might sound strange, maybe even a little ridiculous. How am I supposed to be my own parent? But think about it. You already are the parent of yourself in so many ways. You decide what to eat. You decide when to sleep. You decide how to spend your time. You take care of your body. You make decisions about your life. What's missing is extending that care, that nurturing, to your emotional dimension, to your inner child, to that part of you that's still desperately waiting to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah. She was 38 years old when she came to me seeking help. She had been through 6 different therapists over 15 years. She had devoured dozens of books on childhood trauma. She had cut ties with her narcissistic mother. She had done everything right according to the self-help manuals. And yet, the wound was still there. She still felt fundamentally unworthy of love. She still chose partners who treated her poorly. She still had a cruel inner voice that constantly criticized her. When we first spoke, she was desperate. "I've tried everything," she said. "Nothing works. Maybe I'm just a lost cause." I asked her a question that surprised her. "Sarah, have you ever talked to the 7-year-old girl who still lives inside you? Have you ever told her what she needed to hear?" She fell silent. "Of course not," she said finally. "That's ridiculous. I'm an adult. I'm not going to start talking to myself like I'm a child." I responded, "And that's exactly why nothing has worked until now. You've spent 15 years seeking healing from the outside, from therapists, from books, from partners. You've never gone to the one source that can truly heal you, yourself." Sarah resisted at first. The idea seemed too absurd, too silly. But she was desperate enough to try it. I asked her to close her eyes and visualize herself at 7 years old, the age when her mother started being particularly cruel, the age when she remembers giving up on trying to please her, the age when the wound solidified. She visualized it, and she started to cry. It was the first time she had really looked at that little girl, not as a distant memory, not as an abstract concept, but as a living part of herself that was still waiting. "What do you want to say to her?" I asked. Sarah hesitated. Then, with a trembling voice, she said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I've ignored you all these years. I'm so sorry I believed what Mom said about you. You weren't the problem. You were never the problem. You were just a child who needed love." That was the beginning of Sarah's real healing. Not the end, the beginning. Because true healing doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens over months and years of consistent practice. You keep going back to that inner child, giving them what they need, becoming the protective adult they never had. But something shifted that day for Sarah. For the first time in 31 years, Sarah stopped looking for healing outside herself. For the first time, she understood where the healing actually resides, and that's what I want you to understand. The healing isn't in the next therapist you'll find. It's not in the next self-help book you'll read. It's not in the next partner who will love you the right way. The healing is in you. It always has been. You just haven't known how to access it. Carl Jung said that healing happens when the conscious and unconscious enter into dialogue. When you stop running from the parts of yourself that have been wounded and start relating to them. When you stop trying to transcend your pain and start integrating it. This is the opposite of what the self-help culture teaches. Self-help culture says, overcome your past, leave it behind, move on. Carl Jung says, go to your past, find the child who still lives there, bring them into the present with love. The difference seems subtle, but it's enormous. Overcoming is ignoring. Integrating is healing. Now you might be thinking, okay, I understand the theory, but how does this work in practice? What exactly do I need to do? Let me give you a concrete process. It's not the only path, but it's a path that works for many people. First step, identify the wound. This seems obvious, but many people skip this step. They know they've been wounded, but they don't know exactly where the wound is. They don't know exactly what happened. They don't know exactly what was missing. To identify the wound, you need to go back. Go back to the memories of childhood. Go back to the moments that still hurt when you remember them. Go back to the sensations in your body that appear when you think of your parents. The wound usually reveals itself through patterns. If you have a constant fear of abandonment, The wound probably involves emotional abandonment. If you have difficulty accepting compliments, the wound probably involves invalidation. If you seek perfection obsessively, the wound probably involves conditional love. Second step, locate the inner child. After identifying the wound, you need to find the part of you that still carries it. It's usually a younger version of yourself, maybe 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old. The age will vary depending on when the wound was most intense. To locate this child, you can use visualization. Close your eyes and imagine yourself going back in time. See yourself in the house where you grew up. Look for the younger version of yourself. When you find them, observe them. How are they? What are they feeling? What do they need? This exercise may seem simple, but it's often very emotional. Many people cry when they really see their inner child for the first time, because for years, decades maybe, they ignored this part of themselves. They pretended it didn't exist. They tried to overcome it instead of integrating it. Third step, establish dialogue. Once you've located your inner child, you need to start talking to them, not just once, regularly, like a loving parent would with a child who needs attention. What you say in this dialogue depends on what the child needs to hear. If they were abandoned, tell them you will never leave. If they were invalidated, tell them their feelings are real and important. If they were criticized, tell them they are good enough exactly as they are. This will seem artificial at first. It will seem like you're just pretending. But over time, something changes. The inner child starts to believe, starts to relax, starts to heal. Carl Jung explained this phenomenon through the concept of psychic reality. For the psyche, internal experiences are as real as external experiences. If you hear you are loved from your own adult self, the inner child receives this almost in the same way they would receive it from a real parent. Not identical, but surprisingly close. Fourth step, protect the inner child. Part of being a good parent is protecting the child from danger. The same logic applies here. You need to learn to protect your inner child from situations that re-traumatize them. This might mean setting boundaries with toxic people. It might mean getting out of abusive relationships. It might mean stopping putting yourself in situations that repeat the dynamics of your childhood. It might mean simply saying no when before you would say yes out of fear of rejection. Every time you protect your inner child, you are communicating something important. You are saying, I am here, I will take care of you. You are not alone anymore. Fifth step, consistency. This is the most difficult step and the most important. Healing doesn't happen in a weekend. It doesn't happen in a workshop. It doesn't happen after a powerful insight. Healing happens through daily, consistent practice, over months and years. That means going back to your inner child every day. It means asking how they are doing. It means giving them what they need. It means being the reliable adult they never had. Most people give up before seeing results. They do the exercise once, feel something, and then go back to normal life. Weeks later, the wound is there again, as painful as before. And they conclude it didn't work. But it's not that it didn't work. It's that they didn't give it enough time. You don't undo 30 years of wounding in 30 minutes of visualization. You undo 30 years of wounding in months of dedicated and loving practice. Now I want to talk about the obstacles. Because if it were easy, everyone would already be healed, and that's clearly not the case. The first obstacle is internal resistance. A part of you doesn't want to heal. This sounds contradictory, but it's true. The wound has become part of your identity. You define yourself by it. You organize your life around it. Healing would mean losing a part of who you are. This resistance manifests in various ways. Forgetfulness. You forget to do the exercises. Rationalization. You convince yourself that this is nonsense, distractions, you always find something more urgent to do. All of this is the resistance trying to keep things as they are. The second obstacle is the pain. Healing hurts. There's no way around it. When you go to your inner child, you will feel what they feel. You will feel the abandonment, the rejection, the loneliness, the fear, and that hurts. Sometimes it hurts a lot. Many people prefer the chronic pain of the unhealed wound to the acute pain of healing. The chronic pain is familiar. You know how it works. The pain of healing is unknown. You don't know how long it will last. You don't know if you can handle it. But here's the truth. The pain of healing is temporary. It passes. The pain of the unhealed wound is permanent. It never passes. You choose between temporary pain with healing in the end, or permanent pain with no end in sight. The third obstacle is the lack of a model. If your parents were narcissistic or emotionally absent, you never saw what healthy parental love looks like. You have no reference point. You don't know what you should be doing. This means you're going to need to learn. You'll need to observe other people who had loving parents. You'll need to read about healthy child development. You'll need to, in many cases, invent from scratch what loving parenthood means to you. This is hard, but it's also liberating. Because you aren't stuck with the model you received, you can create something new, something better, something that actually works for your inner child. There's a fourth obstacle that I need to mention: the fear of success. It might sound strange, but many people are afraid to really heal. Because healing means changing. It means becoming someone different. It means leaving behind the person you've been your whole life. What if I heal and people don't recognize me anymore? What if I heal and my relationships change? What if I heal and I realize I've spent years of my life living in a way that made no sense? These questions are scary, and that's why some people sabotage their own healing. They get close. They feel something is changing, and then they do something to go right back to square one. They go back to the toxic relationship. They stop doing the exercises. They make up an excuse not to continue. If you identify with this, know that it's normal. The fear of change is human, but also know that the person you'll become after healing is more you than the person you are now. The wound has pushed you away from who you really are. Healing brings you closer. Let me go back to Sarah for a moment. After that first encounter with her inner child, she started practicing daily. Every morning before starting her day, she spent 5 minutes with the 7-year-old girl who lived inside her. In the beginning, it was strange, artificial. She felt ridiculous talking to herself, but she persisted because she was desperate, because nothing else had worked, because she had nothing to lose. After 2 weeks, something started to change. The inner critic, the voice that constantly attacked her, started to get quieter. It didn't disappear, but it became less intense, less constant, less cruel. After a month, she realized she was making different choices. She said no to a commitment she normally would have accepted out of guilt. She left a toxic conversation instead of trying to fix it. She stood up for herself when someone criticized her unfairly. After 3 months, her partner commented, "You're different, more present, more secure." What happened? Sarah smiled. "I found someone who was lost for a long time," she said, "and I'm taking care of her now." 6 months into her practice, Sarah realized that the wound still existed. She could feel it when she thought about her mother. She could feel it in certain situations that reminded her of her childhood, but the wound no longer controlled her life. It was a scar now, not an open wound. Painful sometimes, yes, but not constantly bleeding. This is what real healing looks like. It's not the absence of pain. It's the transformation of pain. It's not forgetting what happened. It's integrating what happened. It's not becoming a person without wounds. It's becoming a person whose wounds no longer command their choices. Carl Jung had a phrase that sums it all up. "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Your parents did what they did. That can't be changed. The wound happened. That can't be erased. But what you do with that wound from now on is completely your choice. You can continue letting it control your life, or you can start the work of true healing. And here, I need to be honest about something. Not everyone wants to heal. This might seem like a strange statement. Why would someone choose to stay wounded? But the truth is, the wound offers certain advantages. It offers an excuse. If I'm wounded, I don't have to try difficult things. If I'm wounded, I can blame my parents for everything that doesn't work in my life. If I'm wounded, people need to treat me with special care. Healing means giving up those advantages. It means taking full responsibility for your life. It means no longer being able to blame anyone. It means facing the world without the armor of victimization. This is scary. For some people, too scary. And that's why many people prefer to stay wounded. The wound is familiar. Healing is unknown. But if you're watching this video this far, I believe that you want to heal for real. I believe that you're tired of carrying this pain. I believe that you're ready to do the work. So let me give you some more practical guidance about when to do the exercises. The best time is in the morning, before you start your day. Your mind is still quiet. Your defenses are lower. You can access deeper layers of yourself. About how long? Start with 5 minutes. Don't try to do an hour right away. You'll get tired and give up. 5 consistent minutes are more powerful than an occasional hour. About what to do when it doesn't work. There will be days when you can't visualize, days when nothing seems to happen. Days when you feel ridiculous. This is normal. It's part of the process. Continue anyway. About therapy. Nothing I've said means that you don't need a therapist. A good therapist can be a valuable guide in this process. But the therapist is a facilitator, not the source of healing. The source is you. The therapist helps you find the path. You're the one who walks it. About patience. I know you want to heal quickly. I understand the urgency. You've waited too long already. You've suffered too much already. But real healing can't be rushed. It has its own timing. Your job is to be consistent. The timing of healing isn't yours to control. Now, I want to talk about the signs that healing is happening. Because sometimes healing is so gradual that you don't notice it until you look back. First sign. The inner critic gets quieter. It doesn't disappear completely, but it loses strength. It loses frequency. When it appears, you can question it instead of automatically believing it. Second sign. Your relationships change. You attract different people, or the same people treat you differently. Or you recognize toxic patterns earlier and leave before you get hurt. Third sign. You can think about your parents without being flooded with emotion. The anger might still be there. The sadness might still be there. But they don't dominate you anymore. You can feel it and continue functioning. Fourth sign. You start treating yourself better. Eat better. Sleep better. Rest when you need to. Say no when you need to. Take care of yourself the way you would take care of someone you love. Fifth sign. The emptiness diminishes. That hole that seemed impossible to fill begins to close. Not because someone from the outside came to fill it, but because you've learned to fill it from the inside. These signs don't appear all at once. They appear gradually, over months. And sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That's normal too. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. You return to the same places, but each time from a different level. There's a 6th sign I want to mention because it's perhaps the most profound. You begin to feel compassion for your parents, not forgiveness necessarily. Compassion is different from forgiveness. Compassion means understanding that they too were wounded children who never healed, that they did what they did because they didn't know how to do differently, that the wound they gave you was probably passed down to them by their parents. This doesn't justify what they did. It doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't mean you need to have contact with them. But when you can see your parents as broken human beings instead of monsters or villains, something shifts inside of you. The anger diminishes, the resentment loses its power, and you finally manage to let go of the past. This sign is usually the last to appear, and it's also the most liberating. I need you to know that the work I do on this channel isn't simple. Each video requires research into Carl Jung and depth psychology. Each script is written thinking of people like you, who need to understand what happened in order to heal. If this content is helping you, if you feel you've finally found something that makes sense, you can support this work through Super Thanks. It's a way of saying that this truth about healing needs to be shared, that more people need to know that there's a path beyond chronic pain. Each contribution helps me continue bringing profound and transformative content. And it also shows me that I'm on the right path. Now to finish, I want to leave you with a reflection. The wound your parents left isn't your identity. It's something that happened to you. It's important to understand the difference. You aren't a wounded person. You're a person who was wounded, and wounded people can heal. Your parents didn't have the tools to give you what you needed. That's tragic. That's unfair. But that doesn't mean you're doomed. You have tools they never had. You have access to knowledge they never had. You have awareness they probably never will have. Use it. Use all of it to do what they couldn't. To be for yourself what they never were for you. To break the cycle. To heal. The inner child is waiting. She's waited her whole life. She deserves to finally be found. She deserves to finally be loved. And the only person who can do that is you. So go to her. Find her. Say what she needs to hear. Be the adult she always needed. And do it not once, but every day, for as long as it takes. You can start today, right now, after this video. Close your eyes for 5 minutes. Visualize the child you were, and tell her what she always needed to hear. This is what can heal the wound your parents left. It's not a trick. It's not a quick fix. It's a path. A path that few discover because few have the courage to tread it. But you're here. You watched until the end. That tells me something about you. That tells me you're ready. Now, a question for you in the comments. What have you already tried to heal this wound? Therapy, self-help books, relationships, success? Tell me what worked and what didn't. Let's create a space here where we can be honest about the difficulty of this path and support each other. You're not alone on this journey. Many of us are walking the same path. And together, we go further. Healing is possible. I believe in it. And now, I hope you believe it too.